Good morning. If you're a parent of a preschooler or a child in grade 1, 2 or 3, or whether you're a teacher, well frankly, all parents are teachers at the moment as well. I want to know how you are. I'm concerned about you. The pressure to get our children ready to pass and progress to the next grade. I want to urge you to please stop the pressure. You're bruising yourself, we bruising our children with unnecessary pressure to do all kinds of activities on a daily basis, weekly basis, where only a small fraction of the children in our country are actually doing that. And at the end of the year, all our children will have to pass and be measured using the same measure. So whether you are doing nothing with your child at the moment in terms of scholastic activities, or whether you are doing an enormous amount of stuff on a daily basis, at the end of the day, all children in South Africa at the end of this year will be measured with the same measure. So relax. We need to look after you, because you are the point of stability, whether you in your home or whether you're a teacher that may return to a class at some stage. We need you to feel in control. We need you to enjoy your children. We need you to be there for them on an emotional level, so that when they see you, they run to you, not away from you, because they're so tired of all the fighting and the pressure, because the children don't want to do what our parents want them to do unless you've been a homeschooling mom or dad for quite a while. It's a skill. You didn't want to be a teacher. That's why you didn't become a teacher. So it's not necessarily your thing, and you don't have to feel guilty about that. But at the Mindfulness Institute, we really feel for you, we feel for the teachers, and we definitely feel for our children. And as not an expert, because an expert is a ex-has-been drip under pressure. I am not a has-been drip under pressure. But as a person that has dedicated my life to understanding preschool education and readiness to learn to read and write for foundation phase, I can categorically tell you, a child needs to develop on 4 levels: physically, emotionally, socially, and then cognitively. So the house reflects that very nicely. In other words, the foundation of, when you think of building a house, the foundation of the house represents physical development. That's primary. And then the moment a child has fundamental control over their physical body, they can develop impulse control. That ability to wait, that ability to not throw a tantrum if I don't get what I want right now. And the moment a child has fundamental control over their physical body and they feel good about themselves, also because you are involving them with tasks at home. They are not babies. 3-year-old children can help you cook and clean. Those are skills that can develop. And the most important thing is they feel good about themselves when they do something that is really of value, and that means contributing to the family. So physical development, emotional development, and the moment the child's body is obeying the brain, and that child's heart is happy, it's so much easier to reach out and behave in a socially acceptable manner. And the moment a child is working with the rest of the family, not the baby that needs to be babied, but he's standing up like a human being that is contributing to the family. The moment that happens, that interaction and acceptance is vitally important, because emotional development, I am somebody. Social development, I'm accepted and I belong to this family, and only then is a child ready for cognitive development. So if we want to support our 3 to 6 year olds and our 6 to 9 year old foundation phase children in this time, there are 5 things, there are only 5 things that your child needs to know. And I will categorically state that if your child knows these 5 things, and if your child is in grade 1, 2 and 3 and they start reading, that's obviously an add-on. Many children in grade 1, 2 and 3 can't do these 5 things that we are teaching a child from the age of 3, because it takes many years to develop 5 skills. Listen, there's a huge difference between activities and skills. everything that you print, and may your printer soon run out of ink so you can stop printing, because skills, something completely different to activities. Skills means 5 skills that your child needs to develop. Impulse control, but that depends on muscle tone. Can your child sit still and straight for an age-appropriate period of time? If your child is 3 years old, can your child sit still and straight without support and without fidgeting? Can they sit for 3 minutes and do something that they don't necessarily want to do? I'm not talking about watching TV. That's a passive activity. I'm saying something that the child doesn't necessarily want to do. If your child is 4 years old, 4 minutes. If your child is 5 years old, 5 minutes. If your child is 6 years old, 11 minutes. Your 6-year-old child must be able to sit still and straight for age plus 5, 11 minutes and concentrate on something that your child doesn't necessarily want to do. That may be washing the dishes. That may be sorting the washing. It can be a lot of different activities, but it's something that the child doesn't necessarily want to do, because when they're in classroom, they don't necessarily do what they want to do. So if a child is 7 years old, how many minutes? 12. If they're 8 years old, 13 minutes. So if your child can't sit still and straight, that child needs to be outside. Well, if you don't have an outside, please pull the mattress off the bed and allow them to jump on a mattress on the floor. But they have to develop their physical body. They have to develop their muscle tone. They need to push, they need to pull, they need to carry the washing basket. They need to reach up for the washing line to hang their washing. They need to push, pull, hang, crawl. They need to move to develop impulse control. Impulse control is an emotional skill, but it has its basis is in physical development. Second thing, as your child know and have a sense of direction, please go and fetch me an apple, it's on the dining room table. Or please go and fetch me the milk, it's at the bottom shelf in the fridge. Can they follow an instruction like that? Do they know where's on, behind, next to, not on a piece of paper, physically? Do they know where it is? Can they identify things? Do they know where's left and right? Don't tell me a 3-year-old can't learn about left and right. I'll show you babies that know their left and their right, because as mom or dad raises that baby and they take that left arm to put it through the baby grow, and they say left arm, right arm. It's not an arm, it's a left arm and it's a right arm. The moment a child knows where their body parts, what's higher than, what's above my knees, what's below my nose. Well, the moment a child knows where my body parts are in relationship to each other and where other things are in relationship to me and where's my left and my right, they're getting ready to learn to read and write. Many children in grade 1, 2 and 3 can't tell left from right. So the third skill is language. Listen to your child when your child speaks. Can your child speak one language, clearly and neatly? Or are they stumbling over their words? Are they replacing different, do they use different words from different languages in the same sentence? Can they express themselves? Or do they get so frustrated that they just throw a bit of a tantrum? So can they speak a language? Because if they can't understand and speak a language, one language, how do we expect them to read and write in that language later on? And if the language that you speak at home and the language of instruction, the school where your child attends, if that's different, your child needs to be able to speak, comprehend, understand, and speak that language perfectly without mixing languages. Because you have to understand and speak a language before you can read and write, or rather, before you can write and read another language. And then we get to the most difficult one. Categorically, I can tell you this. This is the most difficult skill to develop in a child. And that's the ability to listen the first time. Not get in the bath, get in the bath, get in the bath, get in the bath. And we do that. We give children instructions and repeat them. Well, if you don't mean the instruction, don't give it. But a child needs to learn to listen the first time. Because if you're battling with your one child, how do you think a teacher copes with 35, 40, 50, 60 children in a class if they don't learn to listen the first time? You may ask me, how must I teach my child to listen the first time? Well, say what you mean and only mean what you say. And the other thing is, encourage your children to rub their ears, massage their ears from top to bottom 3 times. Every now and again, before you give an instruction, because it focuses, plugs in the ears. And the moment it plugs in the ears, it's so much easier to hear to use those ears. And then the last skill. So let's go back. So the thumb represents impulse control, but at the heart of impulse control is muscle tone, your child's ability to sit still and straight, because that's fundamental to your child's ability to concentrate. Children who battle with concentration battle with step 1. The second finger represents a sense of direction. As you know, child know position in space, self and objects, and know left and right. Second one, does your child understand and speak one language beautifully? And if the language at home and the language in the classroom differs, does your child speak both languages? Not together at the same time, but one language at a time. If they don't, teach them that language, because you have to understand the language before you can write and read it. And then, most difficult one of all, teach your child to listen the first time. Well, that goes for us as well, doesn't it? We need to listen the first time as well. Because parents, what we often do is, as parents, we're talking exclamation marks. Do this, do that. We know everything. I want to urge you in this time to stop all the activities and sit and look your child in the eye and turn your exclamation marks into question marks. Ask instead of tell. It really, really works extremely well in terms of developing auditory ability, or the ability to listen the first time. And then the very last finger represents fine motor control of the hands. So there are many other muscles involved with fine motor control, but the hands specifically. It's amazing. Your hands represent independence. If your hands aren't agile and fit, it is very difficult to wash. It's very difficult to go to the toilet. It's very difficult to get dressed. It's incredibly difficult to eat neatly. It's difficult to go to the toilet and be able to wipe yourself. So the hands represent a child's independence. So we need to develop these hands. But there's something even more profound about the way we are woven together, the architecture of the brain, because the thumb and the index finger, the thumb and the language centers in the brain go hand in hand. So you need to develop your child's thumb and index finger and create a beautiful relationship between the thumb and the index finger. Why? Because that's how they're going to hold an instrument, because we still write with an instrument, whether that's a crayon, a paintbrush, a pencil crayon, or later a pen. But we need a relationship between these two fingers. When they cut, it needs to be with thumb and index finger, not thumb and middle finger, because otherwise the pencil grip is odd. And how do I teach my child to develop this? By working, getting dressed themselves. It doesn't matter if it takes time. We've got time at the moment. Let them hang the washing. Let them clean the silver if you've got anything like that. Or use brass. Oh, Maria Montessori is amazing. She was not so pro toys like me, because children don't really like toys as much as they like being like you. And they want to do what you do. And they want to clean and work with what you do. Sorting the washing, hanging the washing, wonderful gross motor movement, and then fine motor movement when they use the pegs to secure the washing on the line. Foundation phase parents of preschoolers 3 to 6 years old. I want to urge you to take the pressure off your children. I want to urge you to hug them more often, look them in the eye, ask them more questions. And then, if you want to know more, we've got 3 solutions for you. The first one is a free chapter on a book on school readiness, just for those of you who want to know a little bit more. It's a free chapter, it's online, and the link will follow. And then there's also a book, an e-book, that you can order right now if you want to. And for the grade R children, and I want to urge the grade 1 and 2 parents to do the same, there's a book called Ready to Learn, Ready for School. And in that book, there's a complete list of skills that need to develop. So there's an opportunity for you to look at your child's skills development in terms of learning readiness, ready to learn, to the symbols of a language, because that's what school readiness means. I've developed myself, or my child has developed on a physical, on an emotional, on a social and a cognitive level, sufficiently so that they are now ready to leap from preschool to primary school. Because if they're ready to leap from preschool to primary school, because they're physically, emotionally, socially and cognitively ready for that, they learn to read and write with great ease in grades 1, 2 and 3. So this is not just for the grade R class. It takes time to develop skills. It's for children from the age of 3. So the first solution is a free chapter of an ebook. There's a couple of free chapters. The second solution is to buy an ebook. So it's immediately available on your any device, and you can look at the skills necessary for your child to be ready to read and write. And if your child in grades 1, 2 and 3 is battling with reading, I would encourage you to check their school readiness levels, because the chances are great that there are actually little developmental cracks that's keeping them back or preventing them from learning to read and write with great ease. And then the third one, that's only for the parents who really want to know. We offer training for parents and teachers and teacher aides, for anybody. You don't need qualifications to do levels 1 and 2 of our online learning. It's school readiness at Mind Moves, and the link will follow. And level 1, we learn about the structure of the preschool and why do they do what they do. Because if you don't understand the context, it will be very difficult. If you don't understand the context of preschool classroom, it will be very, very difficult to understand why the teachers do what they did. And then level 2 is marvelous, because that is training how to develop your preschool child or a child in foundation phase on a physical level, emotional, social and cognitive level, plus demonstration and a test booklet. We train you to assess your own child's level of school readiness now, so you can only focus on those skills that still need to develop before the end of this year. Take the pressure off you. We're here to support you. I wish you well, and I hope to meet you one day, or maybe you'll just pop me a message and tell me how well things are going at home. Thank you for working with us to prepare our children to be ready to learn and write and read with ease and absolute joy.